And joining us now is Democratic Congressman from California, Jimmy Gomez. He's a member of the Intelligence and Ways and Means Committees. Congressman, thank you so much for your time today. I want to start with this ongoing war with Iran. The administration seems to be keeping us on the dark on what this war is and when it's going to end. I want to get your take on that.
The administration launched a war of choice and disguised it as a war of necessity. And you can tell by the shifting rationale. They said it was about regime change. They said about helping protesters. They said it was about retribution. And then all of a sudden they said it was about attacking and undermining Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. Even though the nuclear program was Trump claimed was obliterated last year, and the Department of Defense's own intelligence department said that they were almost 10 years away from getting the intercontinental ballistic missile capability that would be able to reach the United States. So this was a war of choice. They've been lying to the American people. And I think that yesterday's vote on the War Powers Resolution, the people that voted against it are going to live to regret that vote, because this administration has consistently lied about their justification.
So, sir, there is a new report from the Washington Post that Russia is providing Iran with intelligence to target U.S. forces. If that is true, I'm curious about what you think. Should we be concerned about that?
Well, we always knew that Russia, China, and Iran were trying to create this axis of evil, so to speak, between those countries. At the same time, we knew that Iran is a proxy, supports proxies across the globe. They're terrible to their own people. They even kill them by the thousands. We know that. That's not the question. The question did the president have the ability under the Constitution for a preemptive strike or preventative strike when they're not an imminent threat? So we know all that stuff that's been going on for a long time. But the question is, did the president cherry pick the facts to justify a war of choice? And I think that he did.
So let's talk about this, because you have said that you are in strong support. You mentioned it during this interview as well. You are in strong support of the War Powers Resolution, but clearly that measure failed with a 212 to 219 vote, with 4 Democrats joining most Republicans to kill it. So in a recent CBS News polling that we've done here, we found that 69% of Americans say the president needs approval from Congress to continue military action against Iran. And yet, here is the message from your committee chairman on why lawmakers should vote no. Listen to what he said.
On March 2nd, President Trump notified Congress, consistent with the oft-criticized War Powers Resolution of 1973, of military action used to address this threat to the American people and American interests. In other words, the president has clearly acted consistent with precedent and has prosecuted this military action in a transparent and forthcoming manner, holding multiple press conferences and sending his cabinet officials and operational experts to provide multiple classified briefings on the status of the ongoing conflict to all members of Congress, as well as appropriate committees and their staffs. Mr. Speaker, passing the measure today would do nothing to keep America safe. It would do nothing to strengthen Congress, and all it would do is put America's safety and that of our allies at risk. It would allow Iran to once again rebuild its murderous regime and terrorize the world. Vote no.
Okay, Congressman, so your response to this and to your colleagues who yesterday voted no on that War Powers Resolution?
Well, he's the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. My ranking member, who I follow, is Jim Himes from Connecticut. And Chairman Crawford, I think he will understand with time that a lot of these facts that people have already been reported are going to continue to come out. That Trump launched a war of choice, and his justification has consistently shifted. Even last year, Trump's own intelligence director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said that Iran was not actively pursuing a nuclear weapon. Then Trump shot her down and said she didn't know what she was talking about. Then all of a sudden, he claims that they obliterated the nuclear facilities and their capabilities during Operation Midnight Hammer, when they dropped the bomb on Fordo. All of a sudden, they're a threat. They're only weeks away. So something doesn't add up. Either he was lying back in June of 2025, or he's lying now. My assumption and my belief is that he has been lying consistently. And what he's trying to do is trying to find the facts to justify an action that he doesn't have the legal authority. Because it's not just the Constitution, it's also what legal authorities exist. And that's the problem. He's trying to find the facts. That's why it doesn't make sense. That's why the American people don't buy it, because they know that something is weird when he keeps shifting his explanation.
Congressman, I have to ask you about this because we've heard Democrats say they're against this war, and you're saying that as well. But then yesterday, the War Powers Resolution, it failed. What recourse do you all have to make sure the president isn't doing things that you feel would hurt the country?
I think, number one, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They are also responsible. If they're not voting for it, even if they're not supporting the War Powers Resolution, even if every Democrat voted for it, we still wouldn't have had the votes. That's a fact. Additionally, we have to look at what kind of budget constraints that we can put on. Also, when we take back the House, we are going to launch an investigation about the intelligence that quote unquote was backing up the administration's decision to launch this war. This doesn't end when the fighting ends. We're going to go after this administration for lying to the American public. We want Secretary of State Marco Rubio to come and testify under oath in front of Congress. We want Pete Hegseth to come to Congress and testify under oath, not in classified settings, but under oath, so the American people can see that they have been inconsistent, they have misled, and I would even say they lied to the American people.
And while we have you here, sir, I want to ask you about your Republican colleague, Congressman Tony Gonzalez. He has officially dropped his re-election bid after admitting to an affair with a staffer who she unfortunately died by a suicide. Were you at all surprised by that move, his decision to basically not ask for re-election or move forward with re-election?
I wasn't following it too closely, but I wasn't surprised when I saw that Speaker Mike Johnson said that this was going to the Ethics Committee. Once they have, his own leadership has basically said that they're going to look into this, it's going to be in the Ethics Committee. His days were numbered, I think, in Congress. So I think he took the step not out of honor, not out of as a statement of remorse, but as the fact that his days were numbered in Congress. Either if he won or lost the primary or the runoff, most likely going to be kind of taken out by his own colleagues through the ethics investigation. So I believe that I'm not surprised that he dropped out, especially once Mike Johnson told him what was going to happen.
Okay, Congressman Jimmy Gomez, thank you so much for joining us on 24/7 today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.